What's the most horrifying thing that exists where you live? I live out in the country, off a narrow dirt road that most GPS systems can't even find. The kind of place where the nights are completely black, where your nearest neighbor is a 5-minute drive and people don't lock their doors because they figure no one's coming this far out anyway. That's always been the appeal for me. I moved here 5 years ago to get away from the noise, the traffic, the crowds. It's quiet, peaceful, and feels like the world left you alone. I've got about 5 acres of land surrounded by dense woods. There's an old barbed wire fence that borders most of it, but honestly, I don't keep close track of what's happening beyond that fence line. Deer pass through regularly, the occasional fox, once a bear, but it's always been animals. Nothing more, until recently. The first time it happened, I was in my kitchen getting a glass of water. It was maybe 9:30 at night, a typical chilly spring evening. My back porch light was off, but the moonlight was enough to see the outline of the trees through the window. That's when I saw someone. A person, just standing at the edge of the woods, barely more than a silhouette, looking directly at my house. They weren't moving, just standing. At first I thought it might be a trick of the light. I turned on the porch light, but by the time I looked back, whoever or whatever it was had disappeared. I opened the door and listened. Nothing. Not a footstep, not a crunch of leaves, just silence. I convinced myself it was my imagination. Maybe even a tree or a shadow. I didn't want to be the person who moved to the country and suddenly thought the woods were haunted. But about a week later, it happened again. This time, it was morning, just after sunrise. I was half awake, drinking coffee on the couch when my dog, usually calm, went completely nuts. Barking, snarling, pressed up against the front window with her ears up and tail stiff. I looked outside, expecting a deer or maybe a coyote, but instead, there was a man. A different man, standing just a few feet from my porch, not even trying to hide. He had a hood pulled up and was staring at my front door like he was thinking about coming in. I didn't even think. I grabbed the rifle I keep by the door and slammed the screen open, yelling before I even raised it. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" He didn't flinch, didn't run, just turned slowly and walked back into the woods. I waited a few minutes, heart pounding, before walking to the edge of the trees. There were clear footprints in the damp dirt. I followed them for a little while, but they disappeared into the underbrush. I didn't go far. Something about the whole thing felt wrong. Like I'd just opened a door I wasn't supposed to look behind. I filed a report with a local sheriff. He came out later that afternoon, took a statement, looked around, said it was probably a drifter, maybe someone camping out in the woods, and that he'd drive through the area more often. But he didn't seem too concerned. "That's the downside of being out here," he said. "Lots of space. Not a lot of help." Since then, things have been quiet. Or at least, nothing that I can see. But I keep thinking about all the times I brushed off my dog's barking. All those moments when she stood stiff at the door, growling at the trees while I told her to settle down. Now I wonder if someone was out there, watching. I installed cameras last week, front porch, back porch, motion-activated ones for the trees. I check them every morning now, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, scanning for shadows. So far, nothing. But the woods are thick and deep and dark, and I know now that just because I don't see anyone doesn't mean no one's out there. The other night, I woke up to the sound of my wind chimes. I don't remember them ever ringing in the middle of the night before. There wasn't any wind. My dog was sitting up, ears forward, staring at the window. I didn't go outside, just sat there, holding my breath, waiting for the chimes to stop. They did, eventually. This morning, I found the gate at the far edge of the property unlatched, not open, just hanging loose. I know I locked it. I always do. I don't feel alone out here anymore.